Alright, welcome back guys to our channel. If you have not yet, like and subscribe, if you will, if you're enjoying our Airbnb content. These videos are a series of questions that you guys or our clients have asked, and we do a rapid fire answering. Emily asks, I answer, and let's get into it. If you've been in real estate for a minute, you know that the developers are the people who make the money. But the risk that comes with development is that you don't exactly know what kind of obstacles you're going to be overcoming when you actually purchase the land. There's more variables to development than there are a fix and flip or a rehab project. When it comes to developing as well, it's a longer game. You've got to go through the process of setting up electricity and sewer and water and then actually build the thing that you're trying to build. It can be great if you're further along in your real estate game, but it can be pretty cumbersome if you are trying to start with the development side of things. Turnkey short-term rentals are relatively new. So because Airbnb hasn't been around that long, all of the supporting businesses around it are still developing. With a turnkey short-term rental, you are going to be paying significantly more for it than you would if you were doing it yourself, because you're paying someone for that amount of labor and knowledge. With that being said, if you do not have the time and resources to put together a short-term rental on your own, a turnkey option can be really great, because although you're going to have to wait a little bit longer for profits because you didn't put in any sweat equity, you will still see profits, and some profit is better than no profit. So I would highly recommend going that route if that route suits your current lifestyle. Arbitrage, I think, has a place in everybody's Airbnb journey, but in my opinion, it is not the forever game. You will see some Airbnb gurus who pursue arbitrage almost permanently, and they make an entire business out of it, and they all talk about how many doors they have, how many properties they have. But in my opinion, there's two real fails on the arbitrage side that not a lot of people talk about. One being that the average arbitrage deal only lasts 2.5 years before your landlord or whoever owns the building decides they either want to do it themselves or they want to go a different route. And two, on the back end, arbitrage properties are typically smaller. So you're seeing a smaller profit margin, so you need a larger quantity. With that larger quantity, it means that you are spending exponentially more time on the back end operating that business. So if you have 4 purchase properties that are bringing you in $20,000 a month, and you have 10 arbitrage properties that are bringing you in $20,000 a month, the 10 arbitrage properties are going to require you to do exponentially more check-ins, exponentially more cleanings, exponentially more restocking. And so on the back end, I think that that's a big fail that people don't necessarily think about when they first get started in arbitrage. It can be a great way to get started, but I don't think it's the best way to make a sustainable Airbnb business. The largest backside difference of arbitrage versus ownership is, well, there's a couple. One, arbitrage, you're dealing with a landlord, so you don't own the property, which gives you exponentially less control over your property. So if there are things that are wrong with the structure of your house, if there are things that are wrong with the landscaping or the grounds that your property is on, and your landlord's not a great landlord, that can impact your overall guest experience. Also with arbitrage, again, you typically have lower or smaller profit margins, so you need more of them on the back end to equate to what one owned property would give you. Plus, you're not getting the equity in the properties at all. So you have to have a much larger quantity, which means a lot more moving parts on the back end than if you had a purchased property. My why with Airbnb has changed over time. The biggest why that has stood true regardless of the shifts in my Airbnb strategy is freedom of time. That was the original reason we started an Airbnb. That is the continuation of why we keep growing Airbnb. We want the flexibility to step away from whatever we're building and have it keep the wheels turning while we're not present with it. And we want to be able to take advantage of every moment in our life that we want to, that we don't want to spend working. The why also changes as we originally thought that we were just going to invest in a bunch of properties and locations that we wanted to travel to. And now that's kind of changing to maybe something where we narrow in on one market, and that market provides us the income to travel wherever we want to. But again, it just leans back into that why of wanting freedom of time and freedom of finances to live our lives how we want to. Superhost Labs is targeting the investor who sees the value in short-term rentals, would like to partake in the value of short-term rentals, but is too busy to do it themselves or doesn't have the team to support them in that venture. So for us, we kept running into investors who saw the value, understood why it's a great deal, understood why it's a great investment, but just did not have the team, time, or know-how to make it come to fruition fruition. And those are the people that we work closely with now. Photography is your #1 marketing tool. I have said that a million times over and over again. When I'm looking at photographers, there are a few things that I'm paying attention to. One, I want the photographer to use the triple exposure method. What that means is they shoot each room or each shot with 3 different exposures, so you'll be able to see what's outside of the windows just as clearly as what you can see on the inside of the property. You don't want overexposed windows because a lot of times those views are your selling points. I also want a photographer that's familiar with twilight photos, because twilight photos are a huge marketing tactic to really draw in your users when they're scrolling through a sea of daytime photos of properties that are your competition. And also a photographer that understands editorial style photos. So typical real estate photographers will back themselves into a corner and they will try and capture as much of the room as possible. And although you need those photos for Airbnb and for your listing, you also want to make sure that the photographer knows how to capture the personality of your home, because you want them to be able to show off the emotional side, the personality side, the experience side of your Airbnb, not just what your property looks like. The peak of working for an Airbnb startup has been, actually the peak in the pit might be the same thing for me. It's the unknown. Possibility of success and failure of the unknown. So working for a startup in the Airbnb space and working with Superhost Labs has had no shortage of challenges and also no shortage of wins. We are being explorative on every single front. Nobody has really pursued what we're pursuing, and so every single new obstacle we come across has to come up with a new creative solution to that problem. And so with that being said, it's been a huge challenge in a lot of really great ways, but it also has been extremely frustrating in a lot of ways. So I think my peak and my pit are hand in hand. One, our proprietary technology. The technology allows us, and as an extension, you, if you are working with us, to analyze deals significantly faster than anyone else can on the market, which means that you are going to find and close the best deal possible in any given market at any given time way faster than your competition. You also have a team of superhosts behind you. So the people who are backing you up are people that have insane amounts of experience in the Airbnb space. We've all put together Airbnbs of our own. We've all worked with other investors putting together their Airbnbs. We know how to help you avoid a gazillion mistakes that we have all personally made in the past. On the backside, managing the properties, we also are outperforming all of our competitors. So not only are you locating and purchasing the best property, you're having a team of experienced superhosts set it up, and then you also are having a team of experienced superhosts manage it on the back end to make sure that that revenue is hitting your bank account the way it should be. Not at all. The Airbnb game is hyper local. We say that all the time, and that could not be more true as well with the style of property that you're purchasing. Some markets we can collect data on and we see that a 4-bed, 5-bath house is what's going to perform the best. And then in other markets we see that a 1-bed, 1-bath is what's going to perform the best. So it totally varies per market, and you have to know how to do that research on the front end to make sure that you're targeting the right style of house to see that max amount of profit. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you learned something. Again, if you have not already, please like and subscribe to our channel. That helps us out tremendously, and we will catch you next time. Bye.